And hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 26 of the Druids Dozen. Yeah, my name is John Wisby. I am the rock druid, well, so I'm known in certain circles. And basically, I'm a radio DJ. I do the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM Radio at 93.2 FM in Bristol in the UK. And there's the Rock Druid Show on the astroradio.earth network, an international music and science-based station. So, yeah, basically I've been DJing and record collecting, and I'm a musician as well. I've been collecting stuff, music, since my teens, and I've got a large collection. So, yeah, just an opportunity to kind of sit in front of the camera, just wave a few randomly selected records and just chat about them for a few minutes each. So, without further ado, we shall dive in and we shall get going with a bit of punky goth. Yep, there's the front. This is Phantasmagoria by the Damned from 1985. There's the front. There's the back. Just going to get my glasses on. Here's the inner sleeve. There's some credits there. There's the back, and if I slide this out, there we go, white vinyl. Don't know how limited it is, and I didn't even know this was the white vinyl copy when I got it. Yeah, I used to have this on cassette, and when the cassette died I got a vinyl copy, but I thought I would yeah, replace it. Now, the Damned, as many of you know, or maybe should know, one of the iconic UK punk bands. If I remember rightly, they were the first punk band to get a single in the UK charts with New Rose, beating the Pistols and the Clash and that. Throughout the late 70s, these guys kind of pogoed and mohawked and etc. And then in the early 80s, they had a bit of a line-up change. You know, Captain Sensible left. A guy called, first of all, a guy called Algie Ward came in, who we encountered last week in Tank. And then there was a guy called Paul Gray, who later turned up in UFO. But yeah, they got in sort of a bit of a different line-up change, and massive change in direction. They went from being kind of, well, basically they went full-on goth, and this is their first full-on goth album. And you know, I guess they've always had a bit of a kind of gothic vibe to them. I mean, there's always a bit of a dark streak to Dave Vanion's vocals and that, but you know, by the time they hit this album, these guys have gone full-blown, you know, sort of like eyeliner and black and you know, black cloak kind of thing. And the result is one of the best kind of goth albums of the 80s, in my opinion. It's an absolute classic. You know, I stumbled across, I used to go out with a goth chick many years ago, and it was her that introduced me to this album in the first place. And, oh, you know, I still love her for it to this day. Every track on here is a classic. You know, you got Street of Dreams, Shadow of Love, love the instrumental Sanctum Sanctorium. The single that was off here, the fantastic light-hearted kind of punk and sort of goth and roll of Grimly Fiendish. Egward the Bear is a brilliant track. The epic Eighth Day, and then the closing cut, The Trojans. Everything is dark. It's kind of, you know, it ranks alongside and sounds not unlike anything that the Mission or Sisters of Mercy or Fields of Nephilim could do. But you know, Dave Banyan's vocal is just designed for this kind of stuff. And the rest of the band play some gloriously dark music to back it up. Yeah, they did another album, which I can't remember the name of, after this, which was also a bit gothic, and had a massive hit with their kind of gothed up version of the old song Eloise. Then they kind of reshaped the lineup again and basically went back to punk. Nothing wrong with Damned as a punk band. I've seen them a few times. It's just that, you know, I'd love them to sort of like goth up again just for a tour and you know, go out playing this kind of stuff, because when it comes to goth albums, this is one of my all-time favourites. It's an all-time classic and should be for anyone who's feeling a bit dark. Great stuff. The Damned Phantasmagoria, 1985. Okay, next up, something brand new. I've been promising you this for a few weeks. Well, my copy arrived at last. There's the front. This is, of course, The Symbol Remains, the brand new album by Blue Oyster Cult. The first thing these guys have released in 19 years, or studio album. They've been some live stuff since, but first live studio album in 19 years. There's the front. There's the back with my little import sticker from Italy. I think it's Italy this was from. It's got Italian writing on it, so yeah. There's my little, there's the back. Nothing really behind the disc, but there's the disc itself. And got to be a bit careful with this. There's the booklet. There's the front. There's the back. And in this baby, open it up, there's pictures of the lots of pictures of the band recording. Fantastic artwork on here. You can see it and get it so it doesn't shine too much there. Lyrics, more kind of Blue Oyster Cult recording session photo montage. Yeah, that's it really. Okay, now first up, I'll address the elephant in the room. It's this. My biggest complaint with this album is the booklet. I like my CD in booklets because, you know, I'm the sort of person, I take them in and out a lot, you know, and it's so easy to scuff and damage the edges because, yeah, you need information, I want to check some lyrics or something, especially when you're DJing. You know, there are certain words that I cannot play on FM radio in the UK, and you know, I never need to check a lyric to make sure it's got an F-bomb or a C-bomb in it. I need to get the inlay card out. Now, this is a cheaply printed booklet. No other way of saying it, and I'm sorry to Blue Oyster Cult and Frontage Records, your booklet sucks. It's on the same kind of paper that magazines are printed on. You know, it's kind of cheap glossy. You know, up in the weight of the up in the weight of the paper a couple of notches would have made your booklet far more durable. I'm terrified every time I take this out I'm going to rip it. So yeah, but if I could take points off for that, I would. However, that is the elephant in the room. The rest is brilliant. Now, I've been a Blue Oyster Cult fan since, oh God, I think my first really, apart from the obvious Don't Fear the Reaper, my earliest Blue Oyster Cult encounter would probably be the Cultosaurus Erectus album back in about 1980, sorry. Going around a mate's house doing some sixth form college work, and his older brother was a massive Oyster Cult, well, a bit of a rocker, and he was playing it in the background. I'm thinking, bloody hell, that's good. Got him to tape it for us, and then brought me own copy a couple of weeks later. But then, ever since then, I've been a massive Oyster Cult fan. I've seen them live 3 or 4 occasions. I've collected all the albums, even started inroads into the singles which in the UK is quite hard to get because they're not a renowned singles band. Actually, come to think of it, apart from Don't Fear the Reaper in the UK, Oyster Cult are fairly obscure. But you know, I've got to know their back catalogue. I've got to know the band well, and I can honestly say, and this isn't me being biased. This is me actually comparing this album with what's come before it. This is one of their greatest recordings. This ranks alongside the likes of maybe, well, my favourite one's always been Secret Treatise. This is Secret Treatise 2, in my opinion. Even albums like Imaginos and Fire of Unknown Origin, Cultus Erectus, come nowhere near this record. And they're fine records, don't get me wrong. Cliche that there's not a bad track on it. Cliche true. This album starts with a cut called That Was Me, and then as you go on you realise that Was Me is probably one of the weaker tracks on the album. It just gets better and better and better, and by the time you hit track 8, The Return of Saint Cecilia, your mind is blown. You're kind of realising what a fantastically talented and artistically viable, if that's a good term for it, Oyster Cult it were. Other highlights on here, there's a Crime, Nightmare Epiphany's an amazing song, The Florida Man, which is one of the most socially observant songs Blue Oyster Cult have ever done. The lyrics are kind of heavily the Oyster Cult kind of dark sci-fi fantasy influenced, but with a little hint of kind of social and modern real life observation. There's the performances are great. There's only 2 of the original Oyster Cult guys on here. That's Eric Bloom, whose voice sounds as fresh now as it did back in the 70s, and Donald Bucktahama DeRosa, the guitarist. Always has been one of my favourites, showing his kind of Santana, metallic Santana kind of influence, slick lead playing all the way through. The rest of the band, can't remember. Well, I'm going to risk taking the things out to get the names, but whoever you guys are, again, salutations for fantastic performances. I don't often say this about brand new albums, but if you want to get into Blue Oyster Cult, this is as damn fine place to start as any. This is one of their best albums of all time, and just shows there's a lot of life in the old dogs yet. Blue Oyster Cult, the symbol remains, the brand new album, absolutely beeping fucking brilliant. Okay, next up we'll go we'll go for this one next, I think. Yeah, there's the front. Flip it round for the back. There's the back. This is, of course, Bad for Good by Jim Steinman. Yeah, if I take this out, lyric sheet and a little bit of performance credit as well. Now, there is a story behind this album, and I'm about to try and tell you a potted version of it. Now, Meatloaf, as you know, met Jim Steinman back in about 1975. 1976 brought out Bad Out of Hell, one of these seminal rock albums, absolute classic. And I know they recommend, they know that it's been worked out that in England or the UK, you know, 1 household in 4 has a copy of Bad Out of Hell knocking around. It sold that many copies in the UK, millions and millions and millions. Now, they were signed to Epic Records, and they had a contract for, I think it was 3 albums originally. Now, after the Bad Out of Hell came out, they Meat and Jim and the band went on the road and they toured extensively. To the result that they came home, Meatloaf was not a well bloke. He had voice problems. He was, because he was a large lad and jumping around like the way he did back then was probably took it out of him. And basically the guy was kind of had to go away and basically recuperate for over a year to kind of get his act together. Epic Records was screaming for the second album, threatening to cancel the contract. Now, Jim Steinman, who Meatloaf's kind of writer and producer, had already kind of sort of like started work on the what would have been the follow-up to Bad Out of 2. It's called Bad for Good. Bad Out of Hell, it's called Bad for Good, and started writing this music. However, to satisfy the Epic Records for something from that kind of partnership, 1981 came along, and eventually this came out. As the album would have been with Meatloaf, but with Jim Steinman doing all the lead vocals. Now we hit the problem, the big elephant in the room, as you say. Meatloaf is a fantastic vocalist. Operatic, it's like an operatic Bruce Springsteen. He's got the power, he's got the presence, he's got the delivery, he's, amazing singer. I've always loved the guy as a vocalist. Not so much as a songwriter, but as a vocalist, the guy is peerless. The opposite is true for Jim Steinman. The guy writes overblown, and in a good way, kind of almost Wagnerian rock operas. This guy is just amazingly vast walls of sound. The ability to call in people like Todd Rundgren on guitar, Roy Britton on keyboards, and various other fantastic kind of like backing vocals by our Eileen Foley, who was a superb session musician. Later went on to a band called Pandora's Box. But the problem is, Steinman, although he can hold a tune and he's got quite a sweet voice, excuse me while I grab a bit of a cold knocking around at the moment, a bit throaty, so I apologise for the occasional splutter and the occasional on-take of beverage. So Jim Steinman, he can sing, he's got a sweet voice, but there's no way he has got the voice for his own music. The result is one of the most disappointing albums I've ever heard. You've got many great tracks on here, some of which let's see, Lost Boys, Golden Girls, Bad for Good, Stark Raving Love, Out the Frying Pan into the Fire, Surf's Up, Dancing My Pants, Left in the Dark. A lot of these turned up either as Meatloaf records or subsequent Meatloaf releases, especially things like Bad Out of Hell Part 2, etc. And also in the case of Surf's Up, it was on Bad Attitude, which was an album co-produced, sort of half written by Steinman, half by someone else. There was also another project that he worked with called Pandora's Box with Eileen Foley. I think one or two of the songs may show up on there. And then, surprisingly, I can't remember, I think it's Stark Raving Love on here. The music becomes Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler. I think it's Stark Raving Love. But anyway, there's a Bonnie, some of the music on here turns up as a Bonnie Tyler's, because Simon produced a couple of albums with Bonnie Tyler, didn't he? So it turns up on there. So the songs are here, it's just that the performance isn't. There's one place where it maybe works, and that's the track Surf's Up, where it's Steinman's kind of plaintive delivery. Actually slightly prefer to the Meatloaf version of Bad Attitude, which is a real power ballad type thing. But on here, Steinman's got one kind of plaintive singer-songwriter delivery on it, kind of like a Wagnerian Elton John maybe. But overall, the album is a disappointment. Also with this, in case anyone points out, there was a 7-inch single, The Storm and Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through, which I have got, but it's been kind of misfiled over my 7 inches, and I couldn't be arsed dragging it out to put it back. I'll have to get on that one, so it belongs in here, not over there. But yeah, but anyway, an album to collect for the Steinman completionists and the Meatloaf Curious. As an album on its own right, it's a very much a flawed gem. Yeah, Jim Steinman, Bad for Good, 1981. Okay, next up, I've picked the pace up a bit, but because I've had a couple that I've been ranting a bit, raving about. But anyway, here's something a bit local from Bristol here. This is Tokoloshe by Bristol band Bonemud. There's the front. There's the back. There's a little bit of note that I stuck in here telling me which tracks have got swearing on and which ones haven't. There you've got a fold out sleeve. And there's the back. Now, this lot, based in Bristol, they're an Anglo-Polish band. Oh, sorry, just in case anyone's interested. There's the disc. They're an Anglo-Polish band based in Bristol in the UK, i.e. 2 of the guys are English and 2 of the guys are yeah, sort of Polish expats. And they play kind of extreme, nasty, shouty, sort of like metalcore type stuff. It's very, very heavy. It's very much in your face. It's very offensive. It's got kind of slight rap element to it, but it's not full-blown new metal type rap. It's kind of yeah, sort of new metalcore maybe. I'm no good at these kind of modern metal genres. Yeah. It's metal or it's not, simple as that. Anyway, cracking album, very much heavy, intense, in your face, cuts like anime, Closure, Rhino, anymore, the Bomber, just, it grinds, it punches, it raps, it bounces around in your head. It's just really, really entertaining music. I think these guys are still going. I don't think they've released anything else apart from this, although I did find out when I talked about Trunk Shot the other week that they contacted me to say the new album's on its way. So you know, so Bonemud, if you see this and you're still together, get in touch, let me know what you're doing. But anyway, and if you're not, and you know, it should be available because this only came out in 2010, so it's 10 years old, this one. So yeah, well worth having a look for. Might be a bit obscure, but good album. Yeah, Tokoloshe by Bonemud. Okay, next up, we'll have something with a Status Quo connection. Had a Peter Frampton connection, had a Herd connection, and a Judas Jump connection, and just about anyone else you can think of connection. Yeah, this is an album I've always loved. This is since I discovered this many years ago. This is Comeback Romance, All Is Forgiven by Andy Bown, released in 1977. Now, Andy Bown, if you probably know, or if you don't, I'm going to tell you, started out a keyboard player in the Herd, also dabbled with guitar and bass at various times in his career. Went on to a band called Judas Jump, session with Peter Frampton for a bit, became an auxiliary member of Status Quo right through till 1982, when he actually officially joined the band. While he'd been playing with them for a good sort of like 8 years before then, so why he wasn't dragged in earlier, Rossi knows. But anyway, it, you know, and then he's done other work. He played with Roger Waters' solo stuff. I think he played with Pink Floyd's live band for a bit as well. But anyway, yeah, this is not in the, with the kind of a divergence of Waters and Gilmour kind of thing. I think he played with them live. But anyway, he also had a bit of a solo career. He had a couple of minor UK hits solo, none of which are on this album. So this album, I discovered it many years ago. I'm just starting getting into music and proper music properly and record collecting. And I found this in a second-hand shop, and it was like, oh, Andy Bown is the Status Quo keys player. I'll pick it up, expecting rock and roll piano. Boy, was I shocked. What we got here is a album that kind of bounces between balladeering, sort of like New York lounge jazz, kind of quite some introspective soul stuff maybe. You know, for the first few years of having this album, you know, when my musical brain wasn't quite developed, I found it a bit of an embarrassment, but, well, not a bit of an embarrassment, a bit of a confusing one, but I grew into it, and now it's one of my favourites. I play this quite regularly. It's oh sorry, there's the front, there's the back. Inner sleeve is just lyrics. Right, now musically on here, let's have a look. Starts off, you know, you got a track called Drowned in Texas. Just about kind of girl he met in Texas. Then you got Manhattan Blues, one of the first of the highlights on the album. It's a real, again, New York kind of lounge jazz, got kind of New York vibe to it, but you know, basically it's about depression, but given an up-tempo swing. He's crying inside as he hit the sack. All he wants to do is get his contacts back. It's just, you know, the vibe continues with Too Good to Last, about marriage breakup. Then you got a beautiful little track called The Real Thing, the second of the highlights on this album, which is about coming out, as a musician in a relationship. I've been there myself. When you come back from a gig and you're kind of tiptoeing around, you know, it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, you may be a little bit drunk because, you know, you've had a few beers, art beers while you're playing, but you try not to wake the missus, and then, you know, just as you're climbing into bed, she wakes up and gives you a peck on the cheek and goes, good gig, yeah, and then cuddles up to you. Yeah, it's one of those things, and it's an experience that a lot of musicians can relate to. Sums it up. You got Blood on the Keys, which again is a kind of quite a dark track. Good Enough Reason, about, you know, why his relationships work. Then you got the kind of bittersweet Love, Love, Love. I'll press on to it. Nobody's Fault. Backstage Pass, about groupies and kind of, you know, almost like a pro-feminist anthem. You know, don't sell yourself to the roadies, you're worth more than that kind of thing. Then the final cut on here, you got a track called Fine Rain, which is it's a very moving track, but an uplifting one as well. So lump in the throat even reading the lyrics. There's yeah, it goes, fine rain can soak you to the skin if you're unprepared, and empty rooms can bring you to your knees when no one cares. Then you've got the more I learn, the more I realise that nothing happens without reason, and there's reasons for the reasons every time. But then you've got this last verse. I've watched my plans collapse like drunks on New Year's Eve, and the bitter taste of failure hurt my pride. I thought I'd been so far down, I thought I'd never make the climb. But then the sad face in the mirror made me smile. Yeah, As someone that's been battles depression on and off for most of his life, that rings so bloody true. That you know, maybe that's the reason I love this album. Anyway, immaculately played, guest guitaring from the fantastic Chris Rea, amongst a load of other session musicians whose names don't ring bells, Chad Cronk, etc. But just a great album, and yeah, it has had a CD release in Japan. I've not seen any UK or European or US issues of it, but it's a shame, because if you own the rights to this, or Andy Bown yourself, bring this album out again on CD. It's a moving, it's amazing, it's a classic, and I love you for it. Okay, next up, I'm going to really have to press on because I'm overrunning like crazy today. We'll have a bit of this. Yep, this is the first season from 2008 by Gone Till Winter. There's the front. There's the back. Pops apart. Disc, etc. There's the fold out. There's the middle bit. And pictures of them. Now, Gone Till Winter were, because the band's official status is on hiatus. Manchester Gothic power symphonic metal band. Rather good at it as well. Oh yeah, I've got this with it as well, which is the I've shown you these before. Rather dog-eared, because like I said, this has been carried around in my music bag. There's the you know, there's the actual press release. There's the basic contact details, etc. Now, so these guys, 5-piece band out of Manchester. So gothic kind of power symphonic metal type stuff. Very, very good band. Like I said, this album is effectively a compilation of I think there's 2 new tracks, plus a collection of their previous couple of EPs and singles they brought out. It's very, very good. Highlights for me include, I have to get this check on here because I can't quite see on the back there. My eyesight's not quite that good. Oh, it doesn't give you a track listing. Bugger in hell. But I'll have to try and see this way then. Yeah, Kill Me. There's a lovely acoustic song on here called Constant Retreat. And I can't see the song titles. I cannot read the song titles, but believe me, there's some good music on this album. I'll say 10 years old now. Band not hiatus, self-release job. Don't know whether you're going to be able to find this one or not, but you know, give it try and check it down. There are a few tracks out on YouTube and that kind of thing, so give them a listen, see what you think, and if you like it, go collect. Yeah, Gone Till Winter, the first season, 2010. And from around about the same time, in a similar vein, we will have this. And again, this is one of those promo single sleeve jobs that I'll get. There's the front, there's the back, pop the disc out, yeah, this is Modern Funeral Art, A Doom with a View from 2009. And once again, I've got this some gump. There's I think days of MySpace, it says here. Check our MySpace page out. There's the front, and they've got a booklet in here, which has got kind of it's got the lyrics, but it's kind of like a proper booklet. Yeah, it's got an interview with the band at the front, and then all the lyrics. There. Now, like I said, this lot are a French Gothic metal band. Slightly more Gothic than metal. And I don't know what these guys are doing now. I've got a couple of... I've got another EP by these, I think called Gateway of Slumber or something along those lines. Haven't heard much of them since, but overall, quite dark, quite goth, quite... yeah, kind of. It's almost as goth as that Damned album that I showed you earlier. Quite dark, quite tongue-in-cheek. The highlight on this is a 3-part, that 15-minute track called the Death Code of the Devil Worshippers, Friends of Hell, Suicide Pact, and Around the Graves. Fantastic track, absolutely. Like it's kind of like an Edgar Allan Poe kind of Lovecraftian kind of vibe that runs through it. It gives you that kind of feel. Like, listen to that track, gives you the same kind of feel I get when I read kind of sort of like classic goth horror, like, you know, like Poe, etc. Other points on here: Mary Jane Kelly, great song. Soul Invictus is a cracking track as well. Actually, they're all pretty. Dante in the Dusty Woods. They're all pretty good tracks, all very, very worthy. Well played, well written, well produced. Yeah, like I said, don't know what became of these. Again, if you're still together, lads, let me know. Because you're a great band, and deserved kind of to be remembered. And like I said, you might give them a Google if you're interested. You may find this. I don't know if this is still available or what, but maybe worth your while checking out. Yeah, 2009, Doom with a View, Modern Funeral Art. Okay, next up is a request. Old friend of mine, and been watching these regular. Someone that, because of circumstances, my circumstances, one of my oldest mates, but I haven't seen her for over a year because of lockdown, etc. and family illness. She looks after a rather elderly mother, and if you're watching, hi Donna and hi Rose. Now, she said she watches these videos because she nice to know what I still look like and sound like, because you can look at what her friends, because she is complete isolation like you. So she said, could I do some 10cc, the Osmonds, which I'm not going to do, or some Suzi Quatro. So, for Donna, and anyone else like me who loves a bit of Suzi, here's a bit of Suzi Quatro. This is 1985's Your Mama Won't Like Me. Yeah. I think this is Suzi Quatro's 4th studio album. Maybe the 3rd, I'm not sure. It's one of her early albums anyway. And this is the first one where she's beginning to branch away from being just a straight rock and roller. This album's got a bit of a funk vibe to it. Oh yeah, there's the front. There's the back. RKA label, but no other details with this. No inner sleeve, no card. Anyway, like I said, this is the one where she begins to kind of spread her wings a bit. You know, the first couple of albums, you know, 48 Crash, Can the Can, all those kind of Glycerine Queen, all those kind of tracks, just straight, brilliantly heavy kind of rock and roll. On here, you've got tracks like Your Mama Won't Like Me, Strip Me, rather sort of like jazz swung version of the old Fever, the old kind of blues classic. She's got a horn section involved, and as a result, it's an album that it has got Your Mama Won't Like Me on here as well, which is a bit of a old school rocker, but it does kind of open new doors. Now, I know there's a lot of people that have turned around and said, oh, this is the album that put them off Suzi Quatro, but to me, looking back at it in hindsight, I mean, I love Suzi Quatro since I was a kid. I'm one of those lads who was about 10, 11 years old when she came on Top of the Pops in that leather catsuit, and it kind of did things to my kind of, sort of barely pubescent brain that kind of, helped make me the man that I am today, with a fetish for leather catsuits. But anyway, Diana Rigg, have you still got that leather catsuit? Daniel. But anyway, sorry, if you've seen the TV series extras, you'll get that one. Yeah, but I collected the singles as a kid. Couldn't really afford the albums, but then went back and got the albums as I got older. So I actually began to appreciate the album as a kind of with me maturing, musical muscle more mature, and basically, I began to realise that this album is beginning to show Suzi Quatro growing as a musician and beginning to kind of really spread her wings. Her bass playing on here is fantastic. I mean, funk bass, I know Bootsy Collins will tell you as long as you hit the one you can do what you like, but funk bass is tricky. And I've tried and failed miserably several times. But Suzi funks up like a bastard on here. Funks up like a bitch. Anyway, she funks like whatever it is beginning with B you want to call her. It's got a normal band of, I'm trying to think who it is. It's Len Tuckley on guitar. Can't remember who the other guys were. But anyway, it's a standard band. They're all on form. By this time, they're a tight unit. Just a great album. Maybe not the most accessible if you want to get into Suzi Quatro, but get the first couple of albums, then get the maybe rock hard, and then maybe experiment with this one. Yeah, Suzi Quatro, Your Mama Won't Like Me from 1975. But Donna, missing you, kid. Okay, next up. One that I don't get it. I've been in radio stations where I've brought this album, or I started spinning tracks off this album. They go, I don't think people like you will be into the Kaiser Chiefs. Why not? Yeah, this is the Kaiser Chiefs' second album, Yours Trudy, Angry Mob. I have the first three Kaiser Chiefs albums. We had to go off them a bit. Kind of after that, they began to sort of disappear down the kind of almost like a Coldplay route. But there's the disc. And if I pop this out, here's a booklet. Kind of typical kind of indie rock, strange artwork, lyrics. Maybe that's a hint at the Who sell out, I don't know. Yeah. Now, Kaiser Chiefs, if you don't know, band out of Yorkshire in the UK. They're a indie rock band. Very, very, very indie. But I quite like them. To me, these guys are a country mile ahead of bands like, Coldplay, etc. Keane. These guys, they wrote great songs. They had a bit of they were rocky enough to keep me interested. Tracks like I Predict a Riot off the first album, etc. First switched me on to them, thinking, these guys are pretty good. Sharing a flat at the time with a guy that was that was very much into them, to sort of go see him live on tour kind of thing. Listening to his albums make me, so I've got the first couple of my own copies when he moved out. And yeah, they're pretty good. Now, most Kaiser Chief albums, I won't say I love every track on here. There's a couple, Everything is average nowadays. Love's Not a Competition, etc. Don't really do it for me. Neither does the big single off this one, Ruby. Great track, but at the time it got played to death on radio. You couldn't switch a radio on without hearing Ruby, whoa, 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 whoa. But anyway, but the title track, Angry Mob, is my favourite Kaiser Chiefs number. I just love the way it builds, kind of, it's talking about tabloid papers and stirring up the kind of proletariat and, you know, that kind of thing. Lovely build up at the end with that mob vocal. Let's have a look, you know. The boxing champ, great track. Yeah, overall, there's more good on this than bad. That's what I was going to say. And, you know, I still will like the Kaiser Chiefs. Like I said, I haven't found their last couple of albums that inspiring, but, you know, the first 2 or 3 I think are worthy of merit. And I would recommend that you give the album, if you only ever heard the singles, I recommend you give the albums a try, because, you know, there are some hidden gems. So yeah, Kaiser Chiefs, yours truly, Angry Mob, from 2007. Okay, next up, have a bit of this. Band that I've covered in the past on the show. This is, of course, the Groundhogs, and this is Split from 1971. There's the front. As you can see, this is a Rockfile label reissue by United Artists. There's the front. There's the back. I think the original had a gatefold sleeves, etc. But again, nothing much on the inner sleeve. Autographed by Tony McPhee and Ken Pushtelnik. Yeah. Because, like I said, one of my few dabblings into music promotions, I promoted the Groundhogs in Bristol, and yeah, that was the night that I promoted the Groundhogs. And then so I've got to know Ken Pushtelnik over the years. Now, this is a I don't know, is this my favourite Groundhogs album? I don't know. There's 3 which I absolutely bleeping love. Thank Christ for the Bomb, Who'll Win the World, and this one. You know, some of the others are okay. I mean, you know, I found Hogwash disappointing. Surprisingly, I like some of their later stuff, like Razor Cut, which is a little bit, you know, quite like that one. But overall, you know, if you ask me on different days, I'll give you a different answer. But this is one of my 3 favourite Groundhogs albums. Side 1 is almost like a kind of musical suite. Got a playing time of around about 23-24 minutes. It's called Split. It's divided into 4 parts. Each part is a standalone song, but they do kind of blend together. Tony McPhee's kind of whimsical musings and lyrics, very engaging. Then flip it over to the B-side. You got the side 2. You got the closest this band ever had to a hit single, Cherry Red. It's their live classic. It's still played to this day as part of their set. They even got on top of the pops to perform it. Yeah, A Year in the Life, Junkman, nice slow kind of acoustic blues. Closer, Groundhogs, typical kind of Groundhog number. Now this album, I had this from both Tony McPhee and the drummer Ken Pushtelnik. This album was torpedoed by OPEC, they reckon. It got released in the middle of the 1971 oil crisis. It piled into the UK charts at number 5 and was looking to go number 1 with a bullet. However, there was not enough oil coming into the country to press records, and United Artists decided they were going to cut back on the number of records they released, and a number of bands, not only United Artists, other labels did it as well. And along with Stray, who another band that suffered the same kind of fate, they stopped pressing this album, despite the fact it had gone #1 in its first week of release and was continuing to sell well. Basically, within a couple of weeks, the UK copies had run out. The distributors were going over to Europe, buying up boxes of albums in Germany, Belgium, Holland, France, etc., and bringing them back to the UK just to try and keep it. But it slipped out the charts pretty damn quick because of, you know, the demand was there for it, and by the time it was kind of repressed, and that a year or two later, when the crisis resolved, the bird had flown. But anyway, yeah, so thanks OPEC for stopping the Groundhogs becoming massive. But anyway, that's just let aside. You can see this is a slightly different reissue. A couple of people, Sea of Tranquility and Chris from the Vinyl Orchard, have basically waved this around recently, and with the original sleeve. But I thought, because I've got the originals, the 1980s reissue, I'll drag this one out. But a great album. If you're into the Groundhogs, get it. If you're not, well, you're not going to miss any. Yeah, you know, you should be into the Groundhogs. Get this album. Yeah, really good. Groundhog Split, 1971. Okay, next up, bit of a curveball, a bit of a, maybe if I take some of you by surprise. This is Grand Unification by Fightstar. Yes, it's Charlie from Busted's band. There's the front. There's the back. There's the band, including Charlie. Sorry, I know I take the mick, but I'm not. It's not meant cruelly in this case, as you're about to hear. There's the disc. And then you got lyrics. Credits, etc. Nice, it's a nice artwork. Now, for those of you that don't know, Charlie, I'm trying to think of his second name. I don't think my glasses are close enough to read it properly. No, I can't remember. I just called him Charlie ex-Busted because, yeah, my glasses ain't powerful enough to read this. Yeah, point off for having unbelievably small print on the booklet, but there again. Old hippies like me aren't probably the aren't really the audience these kind of music's aimed at, but even though I do quite like it. Yeah, Charlie used to be in a band called Busted. Those of you that don't know, UK boy band, very much a manufactured pop outfit. The difference being is, unlike a lot of boy bands, these guys were kind of trying to be an indie rock band, and they could actually play they sort of could play their instruments, and well, they were kind of, you know, fairly, them and another band called McFly were fairly big, sort of like late 90s kind of thing. Then Charlie, the Busted bass player, decided he was sick of being in a boy band and wanted to have a stab at being a serious musician. Formed a Fightstar, and this album came out well, I don't know. This has got to be mid-2000s maybe. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but I think it's mid-2000s. Because I picked this up after I saw them live, because I was very impressed. Yeah, cut long story short, you know, I, like many people, went, Charlie from Busted, trying to be a rocker. Yeah, and then 2000 when was it? Yeah, 2008. I had the t-shirt on. If I do this, you'll be able to see. I was there, Guildfest. Alien Slash Team were playing. Okay, we're on a small side stage, but hey, we were there. But anyway, on the Rock Sound Rock Tent stage kind of thing, headlining on the Friday night, was it Saturday night? One of the two, were Fightstar. And being at a loose end and not fancying the who was on the main stage at the time, I can't remember who it was. I know it weren't the Levellers because I caught the Levellers, but I know I went down to see someone and then went back to the Levellers because I didn't see the band who was on before the Levellers. It's on the back of the t-shirt, but I can't be asked turning around and looking in the mirror to find out. Anyway, I wandered down to the Rock Sound tent because I heard Fightstar were playing. I thought I'll slip in the back, give them a listen. What I heard, absolutely brilliant. Old Charlie was kind of playing in a band that were kind of, yeah, they were commercial. They had a kind of commercial edge to them, but they was heavy as hell. Sounded like My Chemical Romance on steroids. Good way of putting it. Ultra headbangy sort of stuff. Lesson learned. Went back and told some of my mates I just watched Charlie from Busted in Fightstar, and they didn't believe me. Brought the album, played it to them, and some of them do now. This is a great album. You got the two parts of Grand Unification, which kind of make the start and beginning of the album. Here again, Last Conversation, Open Your Eyes, Hazy Eyes, Sleep Well Tonight, Waste a Moment. Yeah, it's kind of quite angsty in places, but you know. So this is music aimed at teenagers and emos and goths. This isn't aimed at kind of cynical old hippies, but you know, it's still very good. And I think even us old hippies have a, deep down inside, we have a kind of little kind of hidden emo or a kind of ancient goth that's kind of, it's been there since our 14th birthday. But anyway, yeah, just a really good album, well worth checking out. Yeah, the other Fightstar stuff's pretty good, so, and the band is still going, so yeah, give Fightstar, you know, all I'm saying is give Fightstar a chance. Yeah, 2008 I believe, or 2007, Grand Unification, Fightstar. Okay, brings us on to the last one. We're going to be a little bit overrunning by a minute or two, but never mind. And we'll have this. This is a US pressing of this album, not only because it is on the Charisma label rather than Bronze that Uriah Heep were on in the UK, but it's also, the original had a sleeve that folded out like that, and this one is just printed like that, which is a bit of a cop out because you can't fold out and see. I'm trying to think who the artist is. Is it Boris Vallejo? Anyway, it's from 1978 and it's Fallen Angel by Uriah Heep. Yeah, rather battered in a sleeve nowadays. Chris Achilles, that's right. Anyway, there's the lyric side. There's the band info side. I'll put this back because it's like I said, I've had this album since about 1980. It's been well loved and has got a bit battered, but like I said, a lot of my, I've said this before, a lot of my stuff, the sleeves may be a bit naff, and sometimes I've brought them because the sleeves are a bit naff, but the vinyl is pretty cool. The vinyl's normally sort of like very good up, where some of the sleeves may be a bit battered. Anyway, now I'll admit this isn't the best Uriah Heep album by a long shot. I don't even think it's a Dave Byron on vocals on this one. Is it John Sinclair? Or is it John Lawton? Can't remember. Get this out. Yeah, John Lawton vocals on this one. Yeah, Mick Box, Trevor Boulder, Ken Hennessy, Lee Kenslake. Not the best Uriah Heep album, I'll admit, but this was the album that got me into Uriah Heep. Back in about 1980, again, one of these situations, older brothers playing Uriah Heep, and I thought, I'll go and trek some myself. There used to be a kind of junk shop, and I was living up in Birkenhead at the time, up in Merseyside, and there was one of the kind of junk, equivalent of Poundland type things. A lot of those shops used to have kind of like a rack of deleted albums. You can say US import, got the deletion corner snip there, and basically I went in there and went through and got some albums out because I'd heard, increased my record collection because I was something like 50 pence each. This was one of the ones I dragged out. Bleeding glad I did. Took it home, and this opened the whole world of Uriah Heep to me. Because I was saying, I've got this band Uriah Heep, my mates were coming around saying, well, if you like this, you'll like this. And then through then I was hearing Demons and Wizards, Magician's Birthday, and having my mind well and truly blown. And I've got all this to thank for it. Now, I said, although it's not their best album, it's not their worst. Is it Conquest? But anyway, I'm not a big fan of Bonemud either, to be honest with you. But anyway, it's more kind of rock than prog, and it's got some great tracks on here. I mean, you've got Woman of the Night, for example. The UK and Americans have got their editions, got slightly different running orders. But anyway, Woman of the Night, fantastic harmony vocals. Ken Ennis's keys playing. Actually, when Ken Ennis died, I played Woman of the Night as on BCFM as a tribute because of keyboard work on it. Title track, the fantastic atmospheric drifty Fallen Angel. What do you say? The rock and roll, the hard rock of I'm Alive. One More Night. Great kind of boogie rock and roll number. Could almost be a kind of classic Quo track or something like Nazareth could have done. Overall, it's just I'd say not the best album, but I love it, and it's got some really cool songs on it. So, a personal recommendation, Uriah Heep's Fallen Angel, 1978. Oh, we're a minute or two over this week, but never mind, I had a lot to talk about. So, that was it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's Druids Dozen. I'll be back next week with more, with another dozen. And also I'm planning a kind of an occasional kind of more general music chat. I'm planning something on new wave of British heavy metal in 7 inches and kind of observation about what's going on in the music scene as well. So they'll be coming in as and when, occasionally, midweek. But anyway, links to the radio shows are going to be down there on YouTube, over there on Facebook. If you like it, if you like what you heard, give a like, leave a comment. It's always good to hear from you. Tell your mates. I'm not making it after this for money. I just want to kind of share my love of music, and I've got a few interesting debates going recently over these shows, even though the viewership isn't particularly high. So, loves you for watching, and until next week, peeps, I'm out of here. Bye.